with Appfire, and this is the best project portfolio management show. We are joined again by Michelle Bartonico, who is one of my very favorite guests. She's senior strategist and project manager at Trinity University, and she's going to illuminate us on the subject of which project management certification should you get. Of course, it's going to depend. I'm going to spoil that answer, but stick around for 10 minutes of awesome.
You've got questions about PPM, but you're afraid to ask? Well, wait no longer. Appfire presents the best project portfolio management show by Appfire.
Now, Michelle, you've got certification. So you're a certified project management professional, a certified project management professional that's completed the Google Management Project Program, the search engine optimization specialization from UC Davis. Like, you've got lots and lots of certifications. So let's talk about it. What are the options and how do you pick the one that makes sense for you?
Yeah, so you've probably heard a lot about project management recently because I think with the reintroduction, or I guess it's less taboo to work from home or remote now. So the flexibility of having project management under your belt is advantageous. So I think people are definitely exploring this a little bit more than they have in the past. So the first thing you're probably going to notice is that you have sort of an alphabet soup of acronyms and things that you're trying to wade through. You've got a certified Scrum Master, and you've got PMPs, and then you've got the PMI, ACP, and all these other different, all these other things. And so
you've sort of tacked them all on. So
yeah, like where do you start? Where do you start? And so here's my recommendation. My recommendation would be to start with the question why. And here's what I mean by that. So you've probably heard this a lot of times, whether or not you're in marketing, you're tackling a project, or you're in project management and you're saying, well, why are we even here? What are we doing? So ask that of yourself. So for example, what is your primary motivation for earning any sort of project management credential? So start by asking yourself that question. For example, do you want a salary increase, career advancement? Do you want marketplace desirability? Do you want recognition? Or are you just really passionate about lifelong learning and you just want to explore? And as you're exploring, you might as well tack on a credential. The other thing to ask would be, who asked you or told you to explore a project management certification? So, for example, did your boss come knocking at your door and say, hey, you might want to look into XYZ?
So that's going to help you decide.
Yeah. Or something more vague, like, it would be really great if you could tackle a lot of our projects and you could be the team lead for that. And you're thinking, okay, so what does that mean? Where should I start? Should I actually get a credential? Or basically, who sparked that? Was it a mentor? Was it social media where you just saw something come across your feed, like an advertisement from a university that says, earn a PMP in 21 months? And you're thinking, okay, maybe. So think about
the kind of projects you work on, Michelle. Like, are there some that are like, say somebody suggests to you, have you thought about getting some kind of certification? Does it depend at all on the kind of projects you do, like software development versus marketing versus HR or something?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to want to specialize in a particular area, depending on how much time you have to commit to it and what the feasibility is. So, for example, sometimes employers will actually pay for you to take exams and sit for exams if you come to them with a proposal and say, I know that our organization practices Agile. And so, for example, they really look at Scrum. So at first I want to be a certified Scrum Master. Okay, well, that's only a 2 to 3 day training. Plus you've got an online component where you actually learn from a certified Scrum Master as well. You propose that to your employer. They say, great, let me sign off on that. And then you get started, and then you can immediately apply that knowledge.
Right.
That's one example. That's one route. That's kind of the more basic, quick hitting, you can get some letters after your name type of thing. And then you get the entry into, again, if you're working on Agile within your organization, that's not a bad one to start with because it demonstrates that you understand Scrum and how that framework works.
Okay.
If you want to, Agile is definitely where people are moving towards, not necessarily the traditional waterfall method, but it's pretty blended in all the projects that I've worked on, maybe software development being the exception. But in general, it's a combination of things as you're looking at different ways to be successful in your project.
So then having multiple certifications could be helpful that way if you have like a blended approach that you're taking, having that expertise.
Yeah, if I could do it again, I would do ultimately a PMP, and then I would probably do the ACP, which is also offered by the Project Management Institute. So the kind of gold standard is the Project Management Institute, and so that's where you're going to find the PMP. You're going to find what I just mentioned, which is the ACP, which is the Agile Project Manager certification. So
Oof, a lot of letters.
I know. So yeah, that's the alphabet soup. I don't know. So
You'll have this really long title on LinkedIn. Like your name will
seriously,
get really long.
but
Fold
that
out business
would
cards.
show for sure that you have that breadth of applied knowledge. The main difference between the Agile Project Manager certification and the CSM, which is the Scrum Master, is the Scrum Master. You're narrowing into Scrum,
Okay.
and for Agile project management, for that certification, you're looking more at the various frameworks that you can apply within Agile. So
Now, what about time
that's
frame,
the
Michelle?
different steps.
Like you mentioned that the Scrum Master takes like a few days,
Mhm.
that PMP can take, 21 months, even like some of them have
Oh
long
yeah, yeah.
programs.
I
So,
think I had that come up in my feed like last week, so that's why I mentioned that.
what are you looking at in terms of time frame then if you want to get a couple of these under your belt? Should you look to invest a few months, like a year, hard hit it for like 6 weeks? What are
Yeah.
you looking at?
Well, so that's one of the other big questions you should definitely ask yourself, which is where are you in your career? Are you seeking employment and you may have a little bit more time on your hands to really just full-fledged go into maybe looking at an agile credential like a CSM, or starting to study for your CAPM, which is your more entry level project management certification through PMI. As that was a mouthful, so I'm trying.
Mhm.
But what is your career situation? Are you changing career paths? Are you employed and you're just pursuing advancement? And then just what is your personal situation? So for me, it took me, I think it was 5 months to study for the PMP. I was working at the time. That's pretty standard, I believe, or I like to think it is. But 6 months is sort of 3 to 6 months is the average for pursuing and then sitting for the PMP. Now, the one caveat I'll say here is once you've sort of asked yourself those why questions and then been like, okay, real talk, how much time do I have? Do I have
How
an
much
employer?
money do I have?
Yeah, how much money do I have? Do I have an employer who's potentially willing to pay for this? And you may have an employer who's willing to pay for something that's $130 and not willing to pay for the $500 one. And so you can say, okay, let me prove myself. Let me prove that I'm able to stick this out, and I'm going to be benefiting from learning these skills, and I'll apply it to the organization. Then they might ultimately increase what they're willing to pay for.
What
But
about Google, Michelle, the Google project management certification?
so the Google Project Management certification is fairly new. I believe it came out in 2020, actually. So there's not a whole lot of people who have it at this time. So I would definitely look into that, especially because it's got the equity, the brand equity of Google. It's a phenomenal course, honestly, and it is really well done. It's not going to prep you for the PMP, but it will absolutely carry some weight, in my opinion, because again, it's Google and it is thorough. It takes about 6 months to do. So in your head, I would think 3 to 6 months for a more kind of gold standard studying process, or in the Google's example, you're going to actually go through different courses, and there are 6 courses that you'll go through. Each takes about a month. So that's why I'm saying 6 months. Again, if you've got more time, you can do it faster. So
Wow.
at the end of the day, go to pmi.org and then go to scrum.org. That will help you decide, because there are some prerequisites. So in some ways, you'll ask yourself your why questions, and then you'll go to pmi.org, and some of it's going to be decided for you. You may not have the number of hours in project management to apply to sit for the PMP, but you may have the number of hours or the prerequisites to sit for the CAPM, which again is the
Perfect.
entry level. So that's going to help you with that. So I would just ask yourself those kind of triage questions, and then go to those two sources, scrum.org and then pmi.org, and then filter those out, and then see where you land after that.
Perfect, Michelle. Thank you so much. If you'd like more episodes of the best project portfolio management show by Appfire, go to appfire.com. Michelle, thanks again.
Yeah, no problem.